people the place to be, vandals, and all you people looking for existential fun on the line. This is a brand new episode of Pink Buzz. We are joined by a big friend of the show, somebody that's wanted to be on for a while, and we're really happy to finally have him. But before we let him introduce ourselves, Joey and I do have a few announcements. First up, our buddy Armin Kasim, the creator of Lost Magic, got funded today. His Kickstarter is fully funded, and I'm going to be getting that really rad monster cover whenever that finally gets released. And Joey, you got
Yeah,
some big news from Canada.
yeah. Another friend of the show, Adrian Kaloric, the creator of Trakovi. Well, he funded his Kickstarter earlier this year, and his book got picked up by Scout Comics. So Trakovi will be published for everyone to buy through Scout Comics, which is some great news. We love seeing people make books and have success trying to get their books out there. So, congrats to both those people for putting out some great content.
And now for a man who's put both of them to shame with the body of work he's put out thus far, plus just the artistic merit that he pours into every single panel. If you watch his live stream, it's just incredible. It is just beautiful to watch him work. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. My name is Emmanuel Filteau, and I am a creator from the region of Montreal. I've been doing comics, publishing my own comics since around 2000, and when I was in college and started to hang out with the crowd in Montreal. And since 2015, I've been publishing my series, Tales from the Interface, online and on also on Kickstarter. And I just published my third book this last spring, and currently working on the fourth, which should be publishing in not this spring, not this spring, but the next one.
Very good. Yeah, and I love checking in on Manu's live streams when he's drawing working on his book, because it leads to some pretty fun conversations. Manu's got a pretty extensive knowledge on all things underground pop culture or lesser known indie stuff as well. So he dropped some good.
I try to be entertaining. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to find new stuff to say. I try to remember that. You might not be watching this all the time, so I guess it's fine to repeat yourself a little bit. Yeah. I've been doing that show, I think, for more than 2 years now, and it's kind of became an archive of all my work in Tales from the Interface. I think it spawns from like book 2 up to now. So all those videos are available on the YouTube channel if anybody's interested in digging through the archives, see the progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I always have a good time when I get on there and chat with you.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming by. It's always super fun, and I do appreciate it.
And last night you changed it up. Instead of doing your usual work on the Tales from the Interface, you actually went old school and did some traditional drawing.
Yes,
and put out a piece. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was celebrating because I finished the ink for the first half of the book 4. So I was just taking a break from screens because 11 hours of screen a day, sometimes it's good to take a break. So yeah, I had a piece there. I can show it off to people. Yeah, so this is done because I was reading Geoff Darrow's, checking out Geoff Darrow's Lead Poisoning book, and listening to his interviews, and he was talking about how he was using the Series 500 Bristol board with a 2B Tombow, and since I'm a big geek, I just decided to buy the same thing and try it out.
Give it a go, yeah, man. Hey. that's the best way to, experiment, right?
Yeah,
Then you
sure.
stumble upon something great, and that's usually the way it works. So,
Yeah, so I
I
used
mean,
the vellum one, but I think I should have gotten the smoother one. I think because it creates a very rough texture.
yeah.
I'm not sure how, I think I would prefer the other one. I have to try it out.
Mhm. So let's talk about Tales from the Interface for a bit here before we get into some other conversations, just to let anyone who tunes in know what the book's all about. You have 3 volumes out. The last one just got kickstarted, like you said, last spring.
Yep.
So basically, uh, if you could give all the fans out there a rundown of what exactly the story is and what you're trying to communicate with the 3 volumes so far.
Yep. So the pitch is in a slowly decaying futuristic city, social class is determined by the amount of time you spend in a virtual world called the interface. So basically, we follow the story of Gauthier and his girlfriend Clara, who are living in this kind of dystopian world. We don't know too much what it is, but what's clear is that there is no work, there is nothing to do except being in the virtual world, and people it became kind of the currency of that world, where as you will exchange time for with people, and the more higher your status, your social class, you will get more time, and that's kind of how the society is
Mm-hmm.
managing itself. And then there is this guy that comes in called Alloway, which is
Holloway.
offers time, and then to Gauthier, and then he kind of says, "Oh man, I can't refuse that offer. Life sucks. I have to go to that virtual world." And Clara is just kind of doing the opposite and trying to discover what the world was before that. So it's kind of that conflict that happens between them. So
Mm.
I've been publishing these books, and so I have them here. It's like a 6x9 perfect bound book. It's a full color lead, so I could show a bit of inside. This is a
Yeah.
scene with I call her the Santa Queen. And this is like my last book that just came out.
Yeah. That one came out this spring. Yeah.
Yep.
One thing that's interesting about your book is you publish it in both French and English. Seeing as how you're from Quebec, I'm from Quebec as well. So when I backed your Kickstarter, I was like, "Oh shit, someone's offering it in French." So I was like, "Oh, I gotta get it in French for sure," because especially stuff like on Kickstarter, not it isn't very often where you have it offered in multiple
Yeah.
languages. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not terribly friendly about it too. It's there's not so many options. They kind of don't give you a way to easily create both languages for people.
Mhm.
So it's
You,
it's a bit tricky to do.
okay, yeah. If you're talking about Kickstarter, the way Kickstarter sets it up.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to create a bilingual campaign.
Hmm.
So I try to put it in a way, but then it sucks for people because they have both languages on the page instead of just having their own language. So I wish Kickstarter would try harder to
For because there are a lot of European creators that get on Kickstarter too. People from South America as well. I mean, it's a global thing, right? Especially when you're looking at comic books, like it's not just a North American thing. Like, I mean, you're getting creators from all over the place creating these things and putting them on Kickstarter. So I agree with you. Like if you go on to Panel Syndicate, a lot of their books are if the creator is Spanish, he'll have Spanish English or Spanish French English. Like that's what's cool about Panel Syndicate. You have those options. I mean, it's not crowdfunding, but it's nice to have those options. And let's say someone who's not very bilingual, French, English, or whatever, at least they have the option. They can get it in their mother tongue and have a much better experience because you're gonna understand the story a lot better. So I think it's great that you make the effort to offer it in 2 languages.
Well, that and there's just so much good stuff that comes out of Europe and other countries that are non-English, and I think to try to only put out English comics on Kickstarter, it's a disservice to everybody. Personally, I mean, that's how I feel about it. You guys know how I love European books and stuff, and I didn't know that there was such a closeness to the French Canadian scene as there is to the French comic scene. But I mean, you guys are. I mean, it's like the difference between New York hardcore and like New Jersey hardcore. You know what I mean? It's very, very similar styles. You know.
Just a sec. I think, Manu, you're muted. I don't know if you hit mute by accident or did you mute him by accident, Johnny?
No, his microphone is lit up on his icon.
Oh, there. I hear you now.
I might have tripped the button.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw you going. I was like, oh, nothing's coming out.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah. So if you walk to a comic book store in Montreal, you're gonna get this big table full of local comics. If you go to the English community in Montreal, so they have a couple of there's a Drawn and Quarterly bookstore, which has all their publication and more. So there is a pretty good local community of comic makers. We have the Montreal Comics Art Festival, which is my favorite one to attend. So there is a nice community, and we have this influence from Europe. A lot of us French Canadian, we grew up with European titles.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm more used to, like the Canadian creators like Seth and Jeff Smith and Daniel Clowes and stuff like that. I didn't really see the European influenced guys so richly. Usually, you got more like the Chester Brown, Daniel Clowes, Charles Burns guys, which are a little better known.
Yeah. So they have their own thing. Like the English community, I would say they have their own flavor. And I think the French community has their own flavor as well. But it gets more and more mixed up, and you see a lot more of cross-pollination and this kind of thing. So it is really cool. When I started attending college, I was thrown into that group of underground comic artists, and it was pretty eye-opening because the English and French community would mix up in bars and in live drawings and painting, whatever. So it was fun, really fun time.
I'm just curious, sales-wise, because I know we're a small community, like the French-speaking community in North America. So I was just curious on Kickstarter, sales-wise, like was it close to 50-50 split? Which language did people back more?
In my case, it's maybe a bit more in English.
A little bit more in English.
A little bit more because of.
Well, you have a much larger.
It's my network, I think. Simply that, because the people I know, and that's why. But the growth is more towards the English community. Yeah. That's the draw we were talking earlier about Kickstarter. That it's a global platform. So. It makes sense to have multiple language. It makes sense that it's available worldwide. If only shipping costs would be lighter, we could sell a lot more books.
Yeah, well, that's it. The market's a lot larger for English, right? Because just even in Canada, Quebec, I think there's maybe a couple other French communities within Canada aside from outside of the province of Quebec. So, it only makes sense if you want to reach out to a bigger market to release it in English as well. But I'm happy that it was close to the French version was almost selling as many copies as the English, which is nice to hear. Because I'm bilingual, I'm English, but my father's French, so I like to see things in French, selling well and succeeding, and people are always worried here about losing their language and stuff.
Yeah,
so
it's a little bit why I'm doing it. I would lose. I wouldn't make. Well, I don't really make money with comics, but I would make. How would I say that? It would be more. I would lose less money if I were to make it in only one language.
One language,
because I could like print more of the same. And cost less per copies. But I think it's a question of pride and providing something in my own language, and in the beginning, like the first comic, I tried to keep it as silent as possible. I think that was one of the reasons. Beside that, I like this kind of stories. I think it was one of the. I wanted to keep it simple as well.
Yeah, because I think that first story in the first volume, with the
It's about the first 30 pages is Manu did his own personal little Arzak. I mean, it's a pretty silent little book for the first volume of interface, and it's really fun though. I think that it moves so well though. It just really does have a kinetic energy to it.
Yeah, and it's fun the way it's set up because it's like an anthology book within the book, right? Because you have so many different stories from the interface that it creates like these little stories within the overreaching story. So it's almost like an anthology series without it actually being an anthology series, which is super fun.
I think it gives some flavor to the world.
Yeah.
Like this is their entertainment. This is what people watch in this world. This is what they consume.
Well, it reminds me a bit of the original Metal Hurlan, which was what heavy metal's based off of, and it was basically like the sights that this robot's head would see as it floated through space and saw all this destruction and stuff like that. And that's kind of like what Interface does in its own way. It's its own little version of that with one person working on it, which I think is really awesome. You know what I mean? It's a nice motif to hold up. You know what I mean? Especially because of Metal Hurlan's badass.
Thank you.
Did I pronounce that right?
Metal, yeah, pretty good.
Okay.
We're close enough. And I don't know how it translates though. I mean, Metal Hurlant compared to heavy metal. I mean, it's more like a screaming metal. You know, it's
yeah. I don't think it really translates perfectly. So, yeah. One thing I like too is you throw in all these little winks or like little notes, like of just things like I don't know if the King Crab story from the first one where he fights the King Crab, where he grabs a bone, puts it in the mouth. Right away, I thought of that scene from Star Wars with Luke, when he's fighting the monster. Then, the gingerbread cookies, they're made from people, so that's like Soylent Green are people. There's always these little hints and winks to things that after listening to you on your live stream, I'm like, oh yeah, this is just him. This is you're putting these little things that he loves throughout pop culture, little winks and little touches here and there in the stories that some are more obvious than others, and if you pick up on it, it's pretty fun. Throughout the story, you get to.
Yeah, I'm a big nerd of classic like 70s movies and those kind of things. I like to put as many references as I can.
One of my favorites is the black and white one about the cowboy and the lizard. It reminds me somewhat of the walrus and the carpenter story from Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, just kind of the weird moral parable of kind of an oil baron getting taken advantage of by these intergalactic reptilians. I thought it was a really neat little short that you kind of put at the end of the first book. That one is probably my favorite part of the book so far.
Thank you, Trinket.
Yeah, that was a beautiful touch too. A nice little black and white with just the one with the little egg or whatever. I don't know what it is exactly. The pill, the egg, whatever you want to call it, is the only touch of color, more or less throughout. Yeah, that was a beautiful one. You're reading it, it's all this full color, then you get this beautiful black and white, and but I love black and white stuff like that. So yeah, so I really enjoyed that one as well. That was a great one.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I did a lot of these models for this one. I have the head of the guy. It's kind of broken now, but I made a 3D head of him.
Okay.
And the egg too, I made it in clay and kind of used that as a model for the story. I got inspired by James Gurney because I just bought his book. It's called again the Envisioning something. Anyway, it's one of his books. He's talking about how he puts imagination into oil paintings. James Gurney does Dinotopia.
Okay.
So he's one of he created realistic dinosaur with fantasy settings. So
Okay.
he shows how he build those big models of cities and ships and whatever. So and often he will make little clay models of his characters.
And I find a vibe I got often while reading it, like an over, like just the bizarre and weird feeling of this book made me think a lot of Halo Jones as I was reading it. Like just the world it's set in and kind of how the characters are just a little like weird and off, and like just the different characters and the vibes they give off. I kind of got not the story itself, but just the tone and the atmosphere of it. I got like similar vibes to Halo Jones, which was pretty cool.
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with that one.
It's Alan Moore's first really big epic work that he did for 2000 AD magazine. It's very very taken from European sci-fi space operas and epics.
Okay.
So
then
it
I'm
would.
sure I'd love it.
Oh yeah, dude, Stuart. It's Stuart Moore that does the art for it, right? Or is it? Or Stuart
I
Gordon?
think it's Stuart Gordon. Yeah.
It's Stuart Gordon. The art's very beautiful. It's a really really neat story about this girl who's kind of like this snotty punk who kind of all this weird stuff happens to her, and she ends up becoming a space explorer, a soldier. She has to fight this crazy like robot dog. I mean, like a lot of stuff happens to Halo Jones.
Yeah.
Um,
It spans what? Each book is like a decade.
yeah,
Like
about
each
30, 40
chapter.
years of her life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good thing. Way to go. That's very interesting. I'll have to hunt that one down. I love 2000 AD. My brother collected Judge Dredd, and he gave me a big collection of them, and I devoured them. And I think it really inspired me a lot. I like the ABC Warriors too, and
ABC Warriors is my favorite strip. I absolutely love the
very cool.
just yeah. Just all the different designs for him, man. Like, especially after Bisley got put on the title, man. What he brought to that book was just incredible. I think artistically, and then Clint Langley, who took over in the '90s. Oh man, just beautiful artwork on ABC Warriors.
Definitely.
Is that easy to find? Can you find that, or is it pretty hard to track down?
I got the Magnificent Seven trade paperback a few years ago. It's probably not too hard to get.
They should be pretty easy to track down. If you buy issues of Judge Dredd magazine, you get a free trade paperback of whatever book that they want to have that week in with it. So you never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes you'll get ABC Warriors. Sometimes you'll get like Tor Scion or Mercy Heights or whatever weird thing they decide to throw in there with you. But every now and then you get something really awesome like ABC Warriors in there as well. So that's always a fun one to like take a chance on and just get an issue of Judge Dredd magazine to see what trade paperback they throw in with it.
Nice. I think my favorite artist is probably Mike McMahon. As a Judge Dredd artist, I love the way he draws boots and faces. I think he has a really cool energy to his drawing.
Yeah, I'm not. I'd have. Maybe I'm familiar with him, and I'd have to go back and check.
Oh, it's hard to pick, man. Like so many of my favorites all came from there, man. You got Fraser Irving, you got Dave Gibbons, you got Dave Lloyd, you got Brian Bolin, I mean, anybody that was anybody in the 80s and 90s, man, all came from that magazine pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I think is it Fraser Irving? His black and white, like not colored stuff.
Yeah, it even looks better than
mind blowing. It's just mind blowing. I think it's him. I'm pretty sure Irvin. Yeah, I saw his black and white, like just his inks. And god damn, man,
What's
like
the name of his character that he does? It's like a special agent in the Judge Dredd universe. It's like this clown that like has like the full clown makeup that like goes around and does like special like investigation work. Yeah, it's it's really neat, really interesting.
It sounds accurate to the universe. I don't remember that one. It was Mike Normal who dressed like a guy in a suit, and then everybody thought he was super weird to do it. The clown, I don't remember. Private investigator clown. Maybe it's a later issue and I didn't read. Most of my stuff is the early Judge Dredd.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
still
but
going. So I mean, that's how many years of Judge Dredd now?
And he's
There's a
aging.
lot. Yeah.
So what's cool is that he's his actual age. So he's aging with each year passing by. So he's pretty old now.
Yeah. They'll do an old man Judge Dredd, right? Just like everyone else. That's pretty popular now. So, I mean, but how do you do an old man Judge Dredd? He was already kind of like grumpy and disgruntled. And,
the ultimate
so
boomer.
He's gonna become happy all of a sudden and just instead of cracking skulls, he's gonna be trying to bring world peace and. He's gonna have an electric bike and we'll run on gas. Yeah.
I like the way that he's so above it all. Like he doesn't care about good. He doesn't care about evil. He just cares about I have something to do and I do it.
Yeah, by the book, right? There's no. It's all black and white. There's no gray with him. Hey, I mean, when you live your life simple like that, I guess. Yeah, you get rid of a lot of problems you probably have in life, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, you started this book roughly 10 years ago?
I think I first started as a kind of a novel idea that I wanted to do, probably around 2001, 2, something like that. I started writing a story, and then I kept adding to it little by little. And I think in 2011, I wrote down the XXXIII story, which is in the first book, and then I had this short story. I decided to do like the first story of the novel into another silent story. Then I kind of grouped them together. It made sense because there was all these virtual universes. So I think the first story, the XXXIII that I drew, was about around 2011, I believe. And then I added to it, and then I started really doing it every day in 2015.
And from when you first had the idea till actually bringing it to life in that first volume, did Gauthier, like, how much of a change was it from the first idea you had to when you actually put it down on paper? Did he evolve much from your initial idea to when you came to what we have now in the book as Gauthier, or?
He was supposed to have long black hair, not the hair he has now, and like look very sickly. And I kind of drew him a little bit more in shape that I was supposed to. Probably, I don't know why. It just came out like that. Yeah, so he changed like that, but he's pretty much the same kind of character. Like he's kind of like in Cal, the main character. It kind of everything happens to him. He doesn't really do anything by himself. He just takes it in and just lives what people give him. And says, okay, oh, you offer me that job. Oh, cool, I'm going to do it. Oh, you want me to do this? Okay, I'm going to do it. And he doesn't have any much drive in himself,
Yeah, that's funny hearing you say that, because that's like what I was saying. Halo Jones echoes that. Well, Halo Jones is like that as well. She's more like an observer through the story, and she just experiences things through other people, right? And it's the same idea. So maybe that's why I got that vibe from it, because she's kind of the same kind of character as Gauthier, where she never takes initiative. She's not the one that has drive. She kind of lives in this world and just follows the flow, right? She just goes with the flow and things happen. And so that's kind of cool that he explained it that way. And now I know why I got those vibes. You just explained to me why I had those Halo Jones vibes. That's exactly why right there. So
Yeah, I like this kind of character. Like my previous big book I did called Kesho was like that too. It was a guy who was kind of a soldier in the Earth's army, and then those asparagus zombies kind of took over the Earth, and then he kind of got captured and put in a cell, and then everything was happening to him. And he goes, "Why is it always happening to me?" And then he gets captured into this pirate ship. But why am I a member of this crew now? And everything's happening around him. He just kind of stuck wherever he goes. So
I want to see these asparagus zombies, man.
Yeah,
They sound pretty awesome.
I can share a picture on the Discord.
It's like plants versus the zombies had a relationship and spawned these asparagus zombies.
Yeah, I wrote a full story about it. It was I like that story. It's like the humans were experimenting with asparagus until they became sentient. So and then they threw them in space because it was becoming too powerful. So they had this plan to kind of go back to Earth and infect everybody. So
almost makes you think of what's that cheesy 80s B horror movie there with the tomatoes. Was it just Attack of the Killer Tomatoes?
Exactly.
Yeah. Kind of like that, they're like an alien thing that
it sounds the cartoon.
Such a cheesy movie. Oh man. How old was I when I saw that? I was like so young. I was like, I think it was the first time I'd actually watched like a B movie like that, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" It's like
the scene where they put the giant tomato on top of a skateboard going down the street, like, "Oh no, it's coming for us."
I was like, "Oh my god, I can make this movie in my backyard."
Yeah, that's part of the charm.
Yeah, it was. I was like, "Wow." But I love the cover. It was such a great cover. Like I was like, "Oh man," like the action scene. It was all drawn. I was like, "Man, that's such a cool cover." And that's what was fun about back in the day. We didn't have the internet with all. Oh, I heard about this. Let's go watch the trailer. You had to pick up the box, look at the cover, flip it around, and kind of read. And you had to make the choice that way, right?
Exactly.
You couldn't just go and instantly read a million reviews on it or anything. You had to take chances on things. And we discovered so much more stuff because
spent hours in the video club arguing with which cover looked the coolest. And
so covers really, man, they were important back in the day. It made a difference whether a movie got rented or not. Didn't necessarily mean it was good, but
well, I guess they really had to put a budget there and cater to the audience. Like to the country, you'd get like various versions of the covers, changing the titles. It was very popular to change the title in those days.
And that's the way I think of Kickstarter. It's kind of like going into the video store because you only get usually the cover and maybe a couple pages or like a brief synopsis. So Kickstarter is like going into the video store back in the day because you have so many comics now on Kickstarter and you go through them and try to pick one, right? So like your campaign, you got to think it through properly and really put something out there that'll catch people's eye so that they'll it's almost like they're going to backing your book. Your book is like grabbing that video off the shelf and renting it, right? You won over all these other people and so
that's what I try to tell people when they ask me for what I think would be best. I'm always saying put as much art as you can from the book on the page, man. Let people know what this thing's going to look like because that's going to save you a lot in the long run. But
that's why
go ahead, Manu.
I was just saying that's why I finished my book before I actually start a campaign so that I can have a good sample on the Kickstarter to make sure, so people feel comfortable with their buying. That's important to me, both as a customer and as a comic maker. I want to make sure that I'm delivering what I'm promising, which
Mhm.
would if I wasn't ready when I do the campaign, I would be so stressed out. I am already because I want to finish because it's going to be 5 books in total. So I want to I want to finish it. I do have that stress of being able to finish it. But at least if I start a campaign, I want to make sure that people are going to have what they're paid for, what they paid for.
Yeah, because your book came pretty fast. When I backed your third book, within the month, I think I had it. Like maybe 3 weeks after. I think you sent it, and a month after, I think, because
Yeah.
it went to the printers. I think it took you a couple weeks. You got it back, mailed it out, and within a month, I had the book, which was awesome. I was really surprised how quick the turnaround was. Yeah.
I'm thinking of even limiting the number of copies I'm selling through the Kickstarter, or doing it in tiers. Like if you get this tier, then like the first 100 book is so that I can make sure that people get it by that date. So let's say if you bag if you want the first 100, you'll get it by this date. If you're the next,
Okay.
and then you'll get it by that date, so that I
So
can manage delivery better.
so
It's
kind of like the early birds get sent
yeah.
first, and okay.
Yeah, and then you get additional perks if you're part of that first group, and like I did, did a bunch of original artworks, and the first few people could get that. So it's a lot of work to create those, but it's also a way for me to thank people who've been backing since the beginning,
Yeah.
which means a lot. That after all these years, they still remember it and are willing to go and get the next one. So.
That's fun though for the people, the people that get in there early. It's kind of it's a nice little thank you to the people that came in there day one, backed it, and it's a nice way to thank people for being there and helping you out right straight from day one. I think that's great.
Yeah, so we did a little live, and then I did the draw there. Everybody could pick like a number, and then they actually, okay, you get a choice between this and this, and which one you want, and then I was able to send them the one they chose.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I remember when you did that. I think you did that on Twitter, right? Was that a live stream on Twitter, or?
I multi-stream, so it's
Okay.
Twitter,
So it's
Twitch, and YouTube,
all together. Okay.
and Facebook too. So I'm kind of do it all the same. But Twitter it doesn't really work because I can't get the comments from it.
Okay. Yeah.
If I had like I know they had these session now, that private session where you can. I don't know how would make that work because you can't get the comments on my tool. If somebody comments there.
Yeah, the first couple of times I saw your stream, I saw it posted on Twitter, so I clicked on it, and yeah, I was having problems. So then I went straight through the YouTube live stream because it was much easier to do it that way.
Yeah,
but I'd have to check Twitch. You get more people in the comments on Twitch?
No.
No. Okay.
Depends.
Okay.
Sometimes it's Facebook, sometimes it's
okay.
YouTube. I think
YouTube, okay.
Yeah,
YouTube,
usually
Facebook.
when I'm on there talking with you, there's me and then there's a guy on Twitch, Shadow somebody.
That's Rudy.
Yeah, Rudy is what you call him. You speak French to him sometimes, I believe.
That world earlier. He's been doing webcomics since. Yeah. Did I lose you?
Yeah, you.
I was just saying, Rudy, who's a Sulking Shadow, he's been doing the same webcomic since 2000, since 25, about 25 years ago he started. So I don't have the exact date, but he's pretty incredible. This guy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Because are they available in English? Because we could probably help promote them if you'd like.
Oh yeah, it's fuda.com. He's a guy from Edmonton.
Edmonton, isn't that also where Adrian's from?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's from the big tree in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada too. Yeah.
Oh, he's cool guy. He's really nice. and it's kind of, I think the story is that he died, and it's kind of he's like in a hell, and it's like a little bit like apocalyptic kind of world, or with some weird characters. And
Sounds fun. Sounds like my kind of book. So back to your book, Tales from the Interface. As you go through, Gauthier goes through some changes. So you kind of explained a little bit how the world works with each issue, and now we kind of see the changes he's been through, and Clara and him are kind of they're at odds right now, right, in the final issues. So I'm really curious in the fourth volume to see where, like, is it going to be more based on the two of them, more focused on Gauthier and Clara's relationship more than the overreaching story with Holloway, or is it pretty much going to be like the three of them tied together? Because Holloway is like the main he's the cause of the main conflict now that's starting between the two of them in their relationship right now.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be more about Clara.
Okay.
I want to follow more what she's going to be doing, what's going to be her reaction to that, what she's experiencing. We started out with Gauthier in the beginning, so we kind of see where he's at. So now I'm kind of focusing more on her, but there's a big part of what's happening to him at the same time while she's because she
because she had a much bigger role in the third volume. In the story, like you really started fleshing her out a lot more in the third volume, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, and her and Che, which a really fun character. I really enjoyed Che a lot.
Yeah, I played more with her, and we see more like the people living in the underground in the book I'm currently working on. Like their conversation, their little kitchen area where they eat rat and centipedes. And so we see more of those personalities, and that's gonna play a lot because I don't know how much I want to say, but we're gonna see more of these guys and what they're gonna try to do. And Clara's going to play a big part in that.
And I like you have little characters that don't play a major role, but you keep seeing them in little scenes, like the old punk granny. She's so funny.
That's my tank girl.
Oh, that's your tank. That's tank girl after she's retired. Like in the first story that she makes right off in she's at near the end of the first story, right, where she's counting her change out to buy, I don't know, she's the Cheese Whiz stuff. I think she's buying a jar of that Cheese Whiz. That's funny. And then when she's trying on the shoes, the boots, and then I don't know, is there another scene with her? I can't remember, but I noticed her right away because of her little she's a grumpy old lady. Yeah.
I don't know if she's in third book. I should have put her part of that crowd that busts in the window. I didn't think about it. I could have done.
Yeah, she's a great little character. Like just a background character. I loved her. She was great.
Yeah. I had some good ones, and then the third one, like there's the blue guy, and then the meat guy.
Yeah.
But the meat guy actually has been there for quite a while. He was in earlier books as well, like in the toilet. He appears.
Okay. Was he the one who was asking for time?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's the one who asks for time.
And whole purple. He has a whole purple suit.
Mm-hmm.
He's dressed in a pink purple and a leopard face.
Yeah. Oh, there's some nice gruesome shots in the book too. It gets and
I like to use my gore wisely. So
there's definitely there's some nice, especially that one shot there near the end of the third volume that is great. I love that, where the robo packs, is that it? Robo packs? Yeah, where the robo packs just that was wonderful.
So that my philosophy is like if you put gore on every page, it won't have any impact. But if you keep it quiet and then bang, you hit them with it, I was reading Peter Chung. He's been having these kind of cinema courses on his Instagram. And he was talking about that. He said when you're gonna have a pursuit or an action scene, put something very quiet, and then put your action so that you get that contrast that hits you.
Yeah.
So you kind of keep it quiet, and then you bring in the big guns.
Yeah. And the underwater world, the scene, is that inspired by The Little Mermaid, or like it almost seems like I almost play the song Under the Sea in my mind as I'm reading that story.
Oh, I
I don't
would
know
love to
why.
eat on the back of a turtle like that, though. It's just so beautifully rendered, and the turtle is just so
Yeah.
neat. So,
Yeah.
but then it gets really crazy with the capture and everything. And then they run out of time. I love the idea of time as currency in the book. Like that's always such a good motif, in my opinion.
No, thanks. Yeah. So I like that idea of I kind of created like a big monster for each book. So you had like the king crab, and then you had the Santa Queen, and this was kind of Buzz. I called him Buzz Jelly. And if you look at the inside the cover, we're kind of not this one. I think. Oh yeah. Here. So you had all the three little kaijus. Yeah. So I do like those big monsters. In the last one, I think the monster was the Robopax, and I think that's what I was going for. So it's kind of the monster in their reality, if you will.
Another thing that's fun is in the interface, right? When they get it on, they like take on a whole nother persona, right? So like if you and your wife have like what do you call them? Those lists, like 5, if ever you had the chance. Well, in this world, you can check all of them off because you can be whoever you want, right? So like your celebrity checklist, right? You can just each like, okay, tonight I'm gonna be, who's on your list? Oh, let's say I don't know, like Brad Pitt. All right, so I'm gonna be Brad Pitt tonight. And you can do all that in this place because right off from the start, early on, at the end of that first story, you don't really know Gautier, what he looks like or anything till after he leaves and he comes back, and you only see him for a couple panels. Then he's right back to a new persona, like his new and yeah, it's I kind of found that kind of cool and funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the book that I wrote. This character of Gautier's sister was a teenager, and basically the parents forgot she existed because she would never show herself. She would always use the interface to hide from her parents. So I couldn't really fit it in the script, but I thought it was a fun character. But it was hard to translate from a book to a novel, like all that idea of what's virtual, what's real, because it's kind of seamless for them, and they're kind of trapped in that. So they kind of lose sense of what's actually real.
Well, even the story itself, the real world almost seems as crazy or more crazy than the stories they go into in the interface, right? Like the giant rats chasing her and she falls down the hole, like a killer clown. Like there's all these crazy things going on that are just as crazy as anything they try to experience in the interface, right? So you have that. It's not even, there's no contrast between the two worlds because both worlds are crazy and fucked up. So it's definitely, like you say, it's hard to, I could see how it'd be hard to grasp between the two worlds, because even in the interface, like, it's not all just fun stuff. Like the first story, he almost gets killed by a crab. The turtle story starts off great. They're enjoying their coffee, and all of a sudden the killer jellyfish comes and attacks, and they turn into those underwater Spartans to try to save the turtle. And like there's all this craziness going on in both, like the virtual world and the real world. Yeah, because you got the RoboPax that's coming after you in the real world, and
I
you
think
know,
in a sense, what the interface gives you is a measure of control, like over your what you see, what you hear.
your environment. Yeah, yeah.
So if it's all about that, right?
Mm.
Money is power, power is control. Control is it gives you time to control your own life.
Mm. Another thing is they you refer to the clips a lot, like
Yeah, the clips. Yeah.
the the world changing event that. Are you going to go into more details later on about what exactly happened, what that is, or is that just you're going to just leave it like this was the event that gave us this world, and that's where you're going to leave it, or are you going to elaborate on that a little more?
It's I wrote it, but it's not part of the arc of the 5 books.
Okay. Okay.
So I have probably 2 different ways I could go around it, but it's not part of the story that I wrote. So all the scripts for the 5 books are written,
Mhm, mhm.
and you won't add an explanation on that.
Yeah, because in the book so far they refer to it where
Mhm.
they never go into detail. They just refer to before, and like this was before,
Yeah,
and they kind of touch on it a little bit, then they move on to like it's hard to imagine that this is what it was before the clips, and
yeah,
then they just like when they talk about the trees or art or like
yeah. So they have this like this mountain of books that they don't know which one is history, which one is fake, which one is what. So,
yeah,
so
like
so
fiction, yeah, and nonfiction, and yeah,
so
yeah.
they don't understand that concept because they've been living in that world full of virtual stuff, and it's just too abstract. So they're trying to figure out what the world was before. They know that something happened,
Hmm.
but they don't even know who their grandparents were. So it's like they live for that moment.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, that's where Clara's story is probably going to come in play, like you said, in the fourth volume much more, where yeah, like because she meets Che and the people that have the books that live in the library and all that. So that should be a fun little thread. That'll be interesting to see how you tackle that.
Nice little spin on some Ray Bradbury too. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Fahrenheit 451, but totally surrealized in a beautiful way.
Yeah, great. I love him. He's such a great guy. Uh, I love listening to his talks. Like he was saying how much he would write. Like I don't know if it's from him, but he said it in one of his talk. He says, if you want to be a great writer, just write a story per day, and you're gonna bound to have at least one good story in a year.
Hey.
So you kind of put that idea of a short story. One of the reasons why it's kind of looks like an anthology. I wanted to tackle like short story within my big story. I want to practice storytelling that way.
Well, you're very good at it because, like we said, many of the short stories are silent, but I mean they're not confusing at all. So your sequential storytelling is on point because everything's very clear. You understand everything perfectly. So your sequential storytelling is perfect. Like there's never any confusion about what's going on, what's happening, even though there's no dialogue. Like I mean, everything flows well and makes sense. Easy to understand and follow from panel to panel. You never get lost in the story. It definitely draws you in it to the next and to the next, and it follows and makes perfect sense. So
Thank you.
Well,
sequentially, it's on point. Like I mean,
Well,
it's
he's
perfect.
very clever about the way he does it too. Like in my favorite one about the cowboy and the lizard, it's not that there isn't dialogue, it's just not audible dialogue. The guy's offering him money and the lizard's like, "No, no." And then he finally like, "Oh, I got an idea. Why don't you go over to this other side of the map and go over by those hills that are going to eat you and and look for eggs for me." Yeah. And it's portrayed beautifully. You don't actually
Yeah,
have to know what the lizard's telling
no,
him by the time you're at the end of it. You know what I mean?
it
But
all makes sense. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I like that the echidna, the horse, the mount of the guy is in part of the deal. Was in on it from the beginning, maybe. Yeah, we're not sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, that's I love the art in that one. Specifically, that one. It's so good. Like, especially that scene where he's sitting at the table and just staring at it with the light, the glow in the face, and everything. I love that's one of my favorite panels. That one
I
is
think it
great. I love that
probably
one.
got inspired a bit by the heavy metal movie. They have that orb, that shining orb that everybody wants to grab, and it's
The
kind of
Loch
orb of,
Nar.
yeah, so the orb of evil. So so the forbidden fruit,
Mm,
if you will.
mm,
I think my favorite, the short ones, is probably the mine with the centipede, because it really told. I think there was a lot of depth to the story about what's good, what's evil, a relationship between parents and kids, and how sometimes you are stuck with doing something not out of evil, but because it's a necessity, and you become evil to somebody else. So
because for your love for I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So you have that giant centipede who's trying to protect their eggs, and then you have the people trying to protect their kids, but they have to mine the food of the centipede to save the life of their kids. So there is a struggle between two races who will never understand themselves, and they're both right in what they're doing. And in the end, in the point of the little girl, all she wanted to do basically is see the sky, but she was deprived of it just so that she could survive. So I like the number of levels of that story.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And then you have the funny one with the the little creature that keeps reproducing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That one, I got a good chuckle out of that one.
these guys are from the other book I told you about earlier in the show, like Kesho. So these
Okay.
aliens are part of that world. They're like,
Okay.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stupid race.
I got a good chuckle from that one. It goes, they're just the evolution from one to the next, and yeah, that was. Oh, they're all like. It's hard to pick just one. They're all really good. They all have. They
Thanks.
each have like a small aspect that's just, that you remember from each one for sure. Yeah.
Mm. I'm preparing a big one for the last book. Like more than half of it will be a big story. I'm trying to wrap my head around. Uh, like
Because
the last short story.
your first one had three, the second one had three, and I think the third one had four stories in it. I'm not
The third
mistaken.
the third one is all happening in their world. It's they're just exploring the reality, so it's entirely within the
Okay. Yeah.
it's not within the interface. So it's like three in the first, two in the second, and zero in the
Okay.
last.
Okay.
Um,
So it's just like chapter breaks, basically, the way it's split up.
yeah.
Like in the end with the yeah.
So the one I'm working on, there's going to be at one, and my memory is playing tricks. I'm not sure about the second part, but there's one big scene. But that I've been sharing on my live show, like pretty much all the pages from that I've been streaming, all the process of inking those pages. So that's one of the kind of short story, if you will, but it's more in the sense of a game, like it was for the jellyfish story. Like they're kind of playing that game that was given by Alloway.
With all the alien mech war stuff that you've been drawing,
Yeah.
yeah, that's all been really really clean though, man. Some really nice line work going on those pages. Been so much fun watching you draw that stuff.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Like right now you're doing all your art digitally.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be tempted to try to do like now, like after, you're starting to dabble in traditional again a little bit? Would you be tempted to try that, or is it just not something you're even want to
No, it's
Want
too
to
much
attempt?
work.
No, yeah, that's it, eh?
I don't have time for that. It's
Yeah, yeah.
I want to maximize my time and just being able to move the stuff around without having to redraw it,
Hmm.
or being able to undo, or just when you're doing inking, not being able to undo it is a
A
big thing.
pain. Yeah, I break out the white gouache or whatever and try to fix it, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and the ink becomes, and I say that all the time on the show, the ink becomes almost a pencil in itself, because it's as erasable, as changeable as a pencil.
Hmm.
So the way I see it, the pencil is more of a getting the feeling of what you're trying to draw, and then the ink is putting it in cement. So, but there's the line between them is more grayed out than in traditional.
Traditional inking is one of the most maddening things I've ever tried in my life. Like, I'm having a hard time learning to do it digitally as well, but it is coming along a lot better. I'll tell you that for nothing. So,
It's easier, but well, depends what you're doing. Like, it's hard to get the same feeling as a brush on digital. Um, I still prefer the feeling of the page on the brush on traditional,
Hmm.
but it's just more flexible on digital. It's just hard. I find it hard to calibrate my tool exactly as I want it. So I kind of keep it close to the default setting. Um,
Hmm.
well, I just can't get the look that I want out of digital yet. Like, I really like that Paul Pope brushed look, and I can't really see anybody be able to show me how to pull that out of an actual digital inking tool, where it's almost, thin line, thick line, depending on how much pressure you put onto it. That's all lost in digital, and that's a little
it's
tragic.
it's very hard to do that same effect. You don't get the same feeling of the page in front of you, and then you kind of get lost in a panel, because I tend to zoom in a lot, and it's very
Yeah.
hard to feel the page as a whole. And then, because when you're watching the whole page, you always have your same tool. You kind of get the strength that you want to put much more easily than when you're doing digital. It's hard to remember how hard was I pressing yesterday.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then just trying to put the stronger line at the proper place. Yeah, it's not easy. You want to put the line on the shadow side thicker, and trying to remember all that. I still have a long way to go to be able to master these kind of things.
We touched on it a little bit the other night, but what a lot of people use the Procreate, but you don't use the Procreate. Which software do you use to draw?
Clip Paint Studio. Yeah, I draw everything on Clip Paint now. I used to. The first book was done in Photoshop.
Okay.
The second book was done half in Photoshop, and the color was done in. I think the first half was done entirely in Photoshop, and then the inking of the first part in Photoshop, and then the color in Clip Paint. So I kind of transitioned in that book, but I haven't looked back because it's just much easier. Um, I was drawn because it's so much easier to block color in Clip Paint. Just for that feature, that's what made the difference for me.
Hmm.
That's why I changed, and then I tried the inking and said, "Oh man, well, it works pretty well." Um, but inking is really good in Photoshop as well. I didn't have any problem with it. I know that in Clip Paint, though, there is a lot of options you can do with vector inking, which looks kind of cool. But the way I color my lines, sometimes I don't like the vector line. It's not as flexible. I don't know. Maybe I haven't played with it enough, but
Hmm.
there are some really good options, and they're really specialized on comic art. So there's a lot of possibilities there. Um, the I would say the dialogues are not as advanced as what you could do with Illustrator, let's say.
Hmm.
I just got the Blambot book, and he was showing how he lays out his page in Illustrator, and then he will have all his templates for his dialogue box and
Dialogue.
dialogue bubble, and then he would draw them and inside Illustrator. So and it's a lot more flexible. But I've been trying to improve them in the last book a little bit, trying to tweak them a bit so they're a little better.
So clip art's where you would say to go, because I've been looking for something. Don't think I'm ready to get started on my book yet, but I'm really looking to really get into my character designs and start fleshing those completely out. And do you think clip art would really help with that?
Clip paint,
Or clip
yeah,
paint, I mean.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Well, it's a good all around tool for drawing for sure. You don't need the EX or extended version, because that's more for comic, unless you're planning to make pages after. Like the difference for the more advanced version is that you have like kind of you can see a view of all your pages, and then you can build books inside. So you could get just the basic version, and that you can do painting inside, you can do whatever. Procreate could do too, if you're just wanting to do create character design. When I was on vacation, I had my iPad and I was drawing on Procreate. So sorry, it's a great piece of software for sure. It's more something you need to learn, because all the options are hidden, and then you need to learn the interface because it's kind of aimed at iPad view where you don't want your screen to be full of stuff. So you kind of need to know how to handle the controls. You need to learn all that. So the learning curve is higher, I would say, on Procreate versus Clip Paint, where everything is just in front of you. Also, Clip Paint, if you're making comics, you have these great perspective tools. It's a lot better overall.
nice. All right.
So, volume 4, you're thinking spring 2023
Yeah.
will be your Kickstarter.
Yeah, it should be. Normally, maybe before. We'll see if I can manage it.
It's a conservative estimate, though. Having it out about that far, I think it's nice, a conservative estimate.
I do feel I'm getting faster and more efficient. So, but I'm being careful about what I'm saying. As
Well,
you
you
said,
do the whole thing by yourself, and it looks as good as it does. I can't fault you. You could tell me that it's not coming out for 7 years, and I'll be like, well, okay, I can understand that, because like it's just, your books are so pretty, man. They really are.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just want to make something I'm proud of, more than just getting stuff out. That's more important to me.
Amen to that.
Another question I had is the size of the book. How did you come to that decision, the size of your book?
Yeah, that's a good question. I talked with my printer, and I asked them, what's the best bang for the buck?
Okay. So he said, so that's what you based your size on. So you work within that one to.
He recommended that side because paper sizes, that's how they work. 6x9 is the multiple of the paper size. Otherwise, you'd have to get like letter format, or because this is like a 12x18 basically, and then they cut it. So that's how they make that format. So they follow regular paper size, and then they just bond them together. The comic book format is a weird format that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's not. You don't see it anywhere, right? It's its own thing. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just feel that I'm giving people more for their money that way. If I was to go one size higher, it would be letter format, even though it's a bit boring maybe. But why would I remove part of it? You get what I'm saying? If I wanted to make a comic book format, I would have to cut down. It will cost me the same. So it would be an 811, a letter format that I would have to cut down, and then charge people for that. So they're losing that whole section, and it would cost me the same. So why not give them a bigger book? Shipping costs? I don't know.
No, I was just curious because, right, people choose certain things for, so I was just curious. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why my printer recommended as a better value for the money, and you will see a lot of publication from Montreal who do that because they all go to that printer because
that same printer. Okay.
Yeah, he's hey y'all. Yeah, there's they're very famous around Montreal. They publish most of the indie stuff.
Okay.
Around
What's
here.
the name? What's the name of the printer?
Cahiers du Livre.
Cahiers du Livre. Okay.
Yeah, Cahiers du Livre. They're on what's the name of that street? Anyway, well, they're easy to find enough. If you want.
Is it on the island of Montreal or is it off the island? It's on the island. Yeah.
Yeah, just go off. If you take Jacques-Cartier Bridge, you just go off for 5 minutes and you're there. It's
okay. All right.
Yeah, it's very easy for me to go there.
Yeah, because you live down
I live
that
on
way.
east direction, so it's like pretty close to my home as well. And I can go in, when the proof is ready, I pick it up, I watch it. If there's any adjustment I can do it. It's not like Amazon stuff where you hope that what people get is good.
Is good, yeah.
Because even though you can order one and check out what they did, but then who knows what they are going to do on the next one when it's print on demand? Is it going to be the same color balance? It's going to
because it's on demand, right? So
exactly. So when I got my first issue, my print, my proof for Tales from the Interface #3, it wasn't the right color. The cover was too red, so I had them fix it,
adjust it.
Yeah. So and they can do that, but if you do it online, then forget it. So I'm always on the groups. I was telling people, stop always going online. Go meet your printers. Ask them questions. What is the best deal? What can you bring? What can you do? Maybe they have special inks or whatever. Get to know them. It's worth it. And get to know the people in your own locality. There's bound to be somebody else making comics in your town. I mean, it's not possible if not you're the only one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is a small world, and it's getting smaller all the time with social media, right? It's easier to find people and reach out, and it's a big world, but we're shrinking it down, generation by generation with technology and stuff. It's just so much easier to get information, find people, and
that's great. That's great. I'm just I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that you should know who's living around you. You might be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn
like I only live like an hour from you, so, and I met you through Kickstarter, really, because I backed your book, right? And we only live an hour away from each other, so that's exactly what I mean. Like, it's such a, it's a crazy, interesting world we live in today.
We should do something once, go hiking or something. That would be nice.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, I'm up for anything, anytime. Yeah. Like, I backed which one was it? A Montreal one where I have to go pick it up at local pickup. Where was it? It's at a comic shop. Shit. I can't remember the name of that title.
Space Suite? Space Suite does that where you can go pick it up at the comic shops. No?
Crossover? Is that the comic shop? I have to go to Crossover and pick up the books there. There's 5. I can't think. No.
Who's the author? You don't remember the creator?
I'd have to try to bring it up on my phone, but anyway, I'll think of it. It's a Montreal thing. I have to go to the island and pick it up. I figured, I'll make a trip out of it. It'd be easier if I just had them ship it to my house, but I don't get out much anymore anyway, so it'll give me an excuse to leave the house.
Yeah. Well, I try to connect with those bookstores as well. I left some in Laval and in Montreal, and it's not terribly easy to sell when you're not well known in the
No,
local circles.
yeah.
I think everybody who knows me in Montreal probably either bought the book or didn't want to buy the book. It's more like international or through social media, whatever they can make more sales.
Mhm.
But we'll see. If they sell books, I'll bring more.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a great tool to expand your business, right? Because like you said before, it's a lot of word to mouth, but now word to mouth is like, instead of just reaching a small community around you, man, you're reaching people like, what's the furthest place you've sent a book? Like,
Oh,
what's the
Australia,
you went
Singapore.
Australia, Singapore? Yeah, that's what I mean. Like 20 years ago, you'd never be sending books to Australia or Singapore. Or like it's awesome. It must be pretty cool when you're like,
It
fuck,
is.
someone from Singapore just bought my book and I have to mail it to them. It must be
Yeah,
such a cool. It must be such a cool thing. Like,
it is. I met a super
yeah.
cool guy on Kickstarter who backed all my books, and he's super supportive and really nice. It's great. I made a lot of friends actually in Australia through that, and I found that a lot of people in England also enjoyed my work. I got some great reviews from UK blogs, but because of the leaving the union, I think shipping costs the UK raised a lot,
Went
and
up.
it was a bit harder for the last book. But
See,
yeah,
that's the one thing about Kickstarter that I think is, I don't know, they see, we brought this up on another issue when we're episode when we're talking about Kickstarter is for shipping. You'd think that a crowdfunding service that has so many things being backed and money going through that, like let's say Kickstarter could make a deal with, let's say, UPS, that you have like a serial number that's associated to you and you're a Kickstarter. So if you go to UPS and Kickstarter makes a deal, like you get a discounted price for shipping or something, because Kickstarter, like especially comics, everything is shipped. So
exactly.
they're pumping so much money into the courier business, right, for shipping and distribution, that they should be able to like help you guys out on that front without even making too much of an effort. I don't know.
You're right. You're definitely right. And they should put their weight around and then give us some deals.
Yeah.
Well,
And I'm
to tell you the truth, like when it comes to especially the English speaking, Canada is the only one that has a problem. I get Kickstarters from Australia and England all the time, and they're only about $7 shipping, whereas Canadians want it's $15 to get your shit shipped to you from up there, and that's kind of ridiculous, you know. I can like the Gifford the Clown thing I got from Japan. That was just slightly more money than what a Canadian book will cost, and Canada's just a couple states above me, where I'm at right
Yeah,
now.
I think it cost
unions,
me.
man. It's unions, man. They're retirements. You got to pay for their retirement plans and all that.
But I
Yeah,
mean, I get UK Kickstarters all the time, and like, yeah, they want $5 shipping. I mean,
yeah.
it's not.
You go to the post office. It's like about $11 to ship to US, and then you have to pay for the envelope, and you know,
But
yeah.
one thing I'll say about the Canadian Postal Service is I'll never get a package that's beat up like when I get stuff from the U.S. Postal Service. Man, they are so brutal with their fucking packages. I don't know what it is, but like that's one thing I can say about, we pay more, but man, they take care of our packages. That's all I've got to say. Because I've gotten 2 or 3 things from the U.S. Postal Service now, and I was just dumbfounded that it wasn't damaged. Like, I was so lucky. but yeah, a lot of the packages get beat
Yeah.
up
Well, what's
hard.
funny too is like there's some Kickstarter guys I know that think that it's okay to just throw their books in an envelope and send it to you and
Yeah,
be
Oh,
like,
I got
"Oh,
that.
I thought they would be safe just like that." And I'm like, "No, dude. Like, do you know how American shipping works? Like, hell, did you watch Ace Ventura Part 1? Like, that's no joke. That's how American shit gets delivered."
yeah,
Yeah.
So,
I hope I pack okay. I mean, I board, I bag, and then I have a bubble envelope on top of that. I haven't got any people saying their comic, got destroyed on the way. It seems okay. I hope so. I've been looking at those Gemini, but then it would cost more to ship as well.
mhm,
And it doesn't fit my format as well, so they would be loose inside.
yeah,
yeah, I think Gemini only really work if you're shipping what is it, A3 size, the typical comic
yeah,
book shape.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't have options. And plus, I'm really racking my brain. When I have 4 books to ship, it won't fit in the thickness. Will never fit in a Gemini. I would still have to ship inside a bubble or a little box maybe. But
Or that's another thing too, like Kickstarter. They know there's so many comics being backed. They could like set up where you could order your Gemini, like a little side business where you could order all your packing materials from them at a discounted price
yeah,
because they know they're going to be selling tons of them, right? Like they
yeah,
could give you Gemini and stuff and make a deal there too. Like I don't know, like, but I think with this whole Kickstarter thing now with the crypto and the chain blocks and all that shit, with the new crowdfunding that's going to pop up, maybe they're going to add these options in
Yeah,
where
I'm hoping whatever comes next, we'll actually have some shit figured out and try to do something better
mhm.
with it than what Kickstarter had. Because I mean, Kickstarter was a good Kickstarter, but inevitably they decided to shoot themselves in the foot. And yeah, I really hope whoever picks up the slack, like you're saying, Joey, really has some foresight into, like if we play
be
this thing
yeah,
correctly, we could be a top player in the comic books market, which
exactly.
is
Yeah.
a booming market at the moment, and they could help prolong its life if they actually did some good innovative things to it instead of just, hey, look, variant covers like everybody else.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
like be
Mhm.
like if someone could come out and be innovative and create maybe more, because Kickstarter is not just comics, right? Like I mean, comics is hugely successful on Kickstarter, but if someone put out a crowdfunding that was just for more comic oriented or sequential art or magazines and all that,
Mhm.
and was more focused, then they could work with creators more and maybe create a brand that would be more conducive to that medium, right? And
Well,
it would make
yeah.
everyone happier, and everyone would profit from it. We
I
as backers or
Mhm.
and fans would be better for us. The creators would be able to make a bit more money, which would be great for them. Like I can't
Well,
see
then,
where it's a lose-lose situation. There's everyone wins, right? And it just takes that one person. Let's hope now with this whole thing with Kickstarter, there's going to be that one person that steps up and says, there's an opportunity here and takes the chance. And maybe we'll get a new evolution in how comic books are made.
Let's hope so. And
yeah.
there's that Zoop thing, I guess.
Yeah,
I think I
that's
heard.
one.
Yeah,
Like I said, Dave, what's Dave Cook, right? That's what I
yeah,
said.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's planning. He said on Twitter that he was planning on using them for one of his next crowdfunding projects. So we'll see. And like I said, I just saw another creator just this week post something on Twitter that his campaign's coming up the end of January, beginning of February, and it's going to be through Zoop as well, or Zoop.
Zoop.
Anyway,
I
yeah,
found it. It's Zoop. Well,
Zoop.
I
Yeah,
I really wish them the best. Just that as a small Kickstarter, it's really hard to say. To people who back me that I'm gonna move to a new one.
mm-hmm.
I think the bigger ones need to do it first and pave the way a bit
Yeah.
for us little
Yeah.
guys.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Get the word
everybody
out.
I think everybody at this point knows that Kickstarter decided that like they're going to force everybody to use made up computer monopoly money from now on, and force people to buy in NFTs or whatever the hell their new business market
They
is. So
maybe eventually, but they've been saying for the beginning it's gonna be like regular. You can still use your credit card or whatever.
Yeah, but
oh,
you
they
know,
have,
it'll be I'm sure it'll be a because they want to make sure when they transition it's going to be smooth, right? They don't just want to rush this and have it be a mess. So
That would be really dumb if they did.
yeah, so I think like you say, eventually that's their plan. But for now, the first step will be this, and then once they work out all the kinks and all the details, then they'll probably switch it over eventually at some point. But
Or yeah, they must have some plans to.
yeah, for sure, they wouldn't do this unless they had a bigger idea going on in the background somewhere on how they're gonna apply it. Yeah. Hey.
I wish them the best. I mean, and you know what I mean. I don't know why they're decided to do what they're doing, but I don't know anybody that's happy about it. So you still got time to change your mind, Kickstarter. That's all I'm trying to tell you. Like, and I kind of hope you do because, like,
Yeah,
I don't see the point of what you're trying to do with the crypto thing.
It feels like an investor thing. Like they're trying to raise value of their company, and
Yeah.
trying to see that they're into that new thing, and so I don't know.
Yeah, it's still all that stuff is still all really up in the air. You have people that are super into it, and then you have people that don't want to have anything to do with it, and I don't know. We'll see where everything falls.
If you won't take regular money for your wares, then I'm not going to do business with you. I don't want to play monopoly money, stock market bullshit.
I would never sell my comic on Kickstarter if the only way you could pay would be through Bitcoin or whatever.
The crypto, yeah,
cryptocurrency,
whatever. Yeah,
whichever crypto. I would never. I can't imagine my friends or my supporters going that way anyway. So they wouldn't want.
Asparagus zombie coin only, damn it. Otherwise you're not getting it.
Well, maybe if he, zombie asparagus, only crypto, right? So maybe you'll start buying the crypto if Manu does that, Johnny will be like, God damn it! Now I gotta fucking start with the crypto shit.
I never translated that comic in English, sadly. So it's just available in French. It's on my website too, the PDF there.
Yeah. So yeah, what's a shout out to the people? What your website where they can pick up all your stuff on online?
Yeah, so you can get my book from tfti.incorpora.com with a K. I guess we can leave a link after. And you can get all 3 books, $30 US plus shipping. Also do commissions inside if you want for an additional $15. I'll draw something in. So that's the bundle. So you can get all 3 books for that price, or just the first one or something else. I also sell like prints and stuff there. Otherwise, my books are in a few shops around Montreal, but mainly I'm selling by myself.
And you could get all your other books there, right, as well? All your previous work?
The only one, not true. That I think the only one there is the one before. I don't think I ever put the one before that, which was the story of a mayfly who never dies. Pretty fun, like a little Buddhist mayfly story. I should put it on there. It's funny, but it's I made that like 22 years ago, so it's starting to be a bit old.
Oh, hey.
Humble beginnings, man. People like that stuff.
Put it as a stretch goal on your next Kickstarter.
Yeah, I can put out a PDF of that.
Get a PDF and throw it in as a stretch goal. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard in one of your shows like talking about ash cans, and I was wondering if I should offer like the black and white version of the next book as part of a higher tier or something. I don't know
Yeah.
if people would be interested in that.
Oh yeah, dude, ash
Yeah.
cans are awesome. So yeah, if you offer it at a pretty good price, and yeah, I'll definitely be interested in checking out an ash can edition of interface book just to see what you throw in there for us to check out.
And even if it's just a PDF, I mean, you already have the files, right? So it's not like it'd be extra cost to the printers, or
Yeah.
like if it's an Ashcan PDF form, then
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
it. That's what I was thinking about. It's PDF are great for that. They don't really require a lot of effort. It's so I mean I kind of understand what your guest was talking about. We're trying to sell it cheap because you know it's not a lot of work to put the PDF out there and just send the link to everyone compared to bagging and putting every
Yeah.
book together and then going to the post office. It's
Uh-huh.
really two worlds here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's cheap, and then there's what Armin was trying to do with the $1, which me and Joe were telling him he was insane for doing, but we appreciated it because it's what put him on our radar. We're like, wow, $1 PDF. I'm gonna check this kid's thing out. You know what I mean?
You
And
can, yeah. I backed it too when when he said that. I said, oh, why not? You know, why?
Can't even get a goddamn chocolate bar for $1 anymore. So
yeah,
man,
I mean, I would go for I don't know what $3 cheapest for a
I
preview
think.
PDF.
Well, I think I put mine at one book for $5. I
mhm.
think that was my price.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair price, $5. I
Yeah.
think that's usually what a comic costs you if you go to a comic shop and pick up a book. So
Yeah, but yeah, considering it's a 48 page, high resolution.
Well, I mean, but if you buy the physical copy, you throw the PDF in for free, right? For your campaigns?
You know what? I didn't do it this time, and nobody complained or anything. But I don't know. I thought maybe people like who really want it, they could pay that extra thing, so I don't have to manage another
Yeah.
thing. It's not a lot to add on that, and
No.
there's no extra fees.
Not to mention your books are graphic novel size. They're like what 60 pages a
Comic, like
volume.
actual comic pages, like with drawings on them, is 48. So with all the stuff around it, it's around 56 maybe. I'm not sure anymore.
Okay.
mm,
That's still good. That's $5 value in my opinion. So yeah, that's no problem with that.
Hmm. So my idea was just if you want it, just I'd put it as an add-on. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, that's
Well,
always good too. I like when because I've backed a few Kickstarters where they didn't have the add-on option. They put the tiers together, and if you wanted one specific thing that you would have added on, you had to get all these other things in the tier, and it was a really expensive. Like it was maybe I was going to have to spend $20 more than I wanted to than if I would have just had it as an add-on. So
mhm.
I love it when they do the add-ons because sometimes like okay, I want this, but there's this one other little thing that you love that you'd like to add on, but I had to go and back like another tier that had 5 other things included with it, and you couldn't just get that
Oh
one
yeah.
thing. And it
Mhm.
was like I went from backing like a $20 tier to like a $60 tier, and that's a pretty
I
big goddamn jump when you're
I don't blame them, but I do feel a bit cheated when that's set up like that.
yeah, yeah.
So I did like doing that, and that was new for my campaign. When I did it, last time I couldn't do that, so that was a new thing that they added, and I thought it was great because a lot of people, I mean, they let's say they skipped number 2 or they didn't have a copy of number 1, so that they could like just get the last one and then add on the one that they didn't have. So many
Or
people were like that.
or they lent a copy to their friend and they destroyed one of your volumes. I'll have to add one on next time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do a nice snake for you.
Well, I was thinking, man, I could probably get you to do a full commission instead of just a little drawing. That's what I was
When
going to talk to you about that later on. Like maybe more in springtime or whatever when you're less busy.
I do have a question for you guys, though. What do you think is best, a drawing in the book or a separate piece of cardboard with a drawing on it?
I like when it's in the book because I find it adds to the book itself. But it's nice to have the card. Like it depends. There's pros and cons for both because if it's separate, you could frame it and hang it on the wall, right? And you could see it. So I don't know. It's hard. That's a hard one. It's a
Like
hard
I
one
got
to
somebody
decide.
telling me, I want to rip out the page and frame it.
Yeah, that's it. Like it's nice when it's a what do you call it, a book plate style because you can always frame it after, right? But I don't know. There's it's hard sometimes to decide on that.
Because my thinking was that I could do all those beforehand while the campaign
Yeah,
was going on, and then when I get the books, I don't have to spend a ton of time on each book
yeah. I
to
think
draw it in.
a lot of people do it that way because it's easier too. You're not like opening a book. It's like a flat surface. It's a little easier to
Mm.
work. Yeah.
Better. Well, the paper is pretty good on the book. It's glossy. It takes ink pretty well, but it's not like a Bristol board or anything. It's not as fun to draw on, and it would be nice to just have them all ready and I just pack them and
Yeah, slip them in the.
I could do a quick 5 minute thing in the book as well. Just I sign them anyway. That's for sure. That I think that's a basic thing. But just anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking of for the next one. Just doing all the commissions in advance.
For me personally, like I like to have everything off the book because I'm a physical reader, and if it's all autographed and there's like a neat, beautiful drawing inside the book, I'm not gonna want to touch it and read it. You know what I mean? And I'll be stuck having to read PDFs, which I will read digital comics, but it's not my preferred method. Yeah, no, that's why I slightly prefer having my commission sketches on separate pieces of paper, and I don't really like. I mean, I love autographed books, but like at the same time, it's I can't read them. You know what I mean? Like they just become too special at that point. You know what I mean? Especially if they
Yeah.
put my name on it too. It's like, oh man, it's beautiful. You know?
And do you like it on top of the book or inside the book?
Either way, sometimes I'll have autographs inside the book, but most of the time it's on the front cover, and yeah, that way I won't even take it out of the plastic. You know what I mean? I'll just keep it bagged at
If it's
that point.
it depends. If it's a floppy, I like the cover because I buy the frames and I'll hang it on the wall. But if it's like a collected edition or a hardcover, I like it on the inside because I put it all on the bookshelf anyway, so you won't really see it on the cover. So it depends. Floppy on the cover, collected edition hardcovers, trades inside.
Interesting. Yeah. I do have a lot of ones from European artists that I collected. And it's all cardboard, so they always do it. And I've been doing mine on the first page. And
on the first page, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the tradition.
Because unless you buy one of those like little book holders that tilt it, right on the cover, if it's like you won't ever see the signature really anyway, unless you do that. But like I get the what are they the comic frames you get from the CBR there, and so they're all UV protected and everything. So yeah, and they're perfect. You hang them right on the wall. It's awesome.
That's cool. I should get a few.
Yeah, you can, but you can only fit a regular floppy. I think if you get like a double size, they're too thick, so you can't snap the cover.
Well, I'm just thinking of my old my I have a few of the old Judge Dreads that could be cool to have on my wall.
I bet you they have magazine size ones. I mean, I bet you they have the frames for all the different sized bags and boards you could possibly get. So
I know bags and boards exist. The frames, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they start coming out with them because DC's putting out their prestige format, which they call it, which is magazine format. So if they don't have them, I wouldn't be surprised if they do start producing them in the near future.
Well, magazine collection, it's not as big as comic book, but it is a thing. So I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised if they didn't have magazine frames. You know what I mean? So they're
Yeah.
Well,
just
Aftershock is putting out the magazine format too in their one shots. So more comic publishers are actually putting out those magazine format, the comics in that format
they're
now.
finally
So
catching up with the rest of the world, huh?
yeah,
Finally realizing what Asia and Europe saw since the 1960s.
like
You idiots. Yeah,
like
I
the
love anthology magazines, man. I
yeah,
love
like
them.
the new Lemire Swamp Thing is in the
Mm,
magazine format. So
nice.
yeah,
I'd love to make a bigger version of my book. I like the European cardboard, size, like much
mhm,
bigger. You can fit a lot more into a page this way.
yeah.
Um,
No,
I don't, I'm not a fan of that format necessarily. I just, as I said, it's more like I thought it was the best value for the
mhm.
size and shipping and everything.
Well, what you could do is for the final issue, if you want to piss everyone off, change the format. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or is it
Mm.
6? You're going 6, 6
Well,
volume.
I,
So
that would
I
be
know
so
people
bad.
like I know people that get so pissed off when they all of a sudden in a collection they change the format, like in the hardcovers. I hear so many people complain about that. Sometimes it's funny.
Ugh, what I'm thinking though is I'm working in high resolution, so I can easily, if I want to, make it a little bit bigger
You could,
and do
yeah,
a
blow it
collected
up.
edition of everything in the bigger size.
Yeah.
That could be a possibility
Or
eventually.
in the future, once you're done Tales from the Interface, if you do another book that's just a single volume, one story,
Yep.
then you don't have to worry about multiple books and you know, you could always maybe splurge then.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes with the last two books. If I can get enough of a following to do a
Mhm.
better, higher quality book, that I would like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, so far, man, the first three have been fun. So, I mean, anyone who hasn't read it, go on Menu's page, pick it up. You can get it if you don't want to pay shipping. You can get it as a PDF. So buy the PDF. It's worth it, man. It's a fun read if you're into weird, crazy sci-fi dystopian type stuff. Then this is definitely right up your alley.
Yeah.
Man, like go check it out. It's really fun. It's and it you know anthology. It's got kind of an overreaching story, but it also has like the mini stories, so you get the best of both worlds in it, which is a really fun read.
Also,
Yeah.
Manu, do me a favor and plug your YouTube channel because I absolutely adore watching your live streams. He is one of the most knowledgeable and fun people I've ever seen do Let Draw streams.
Oh, thanks.
So go ahead and plug
What,
that really fast if you don't mind.
type it in the chat. Is that what I should do?
Yeah, go ahead if you can.
YouTube.com slash Emmanuel Filteau. Just my name. Work, I think.
Oh, you did
Yeah.
it in the private.
Oh, okay.
Here, I'm not sure. I think I'm the only person that can actually post in the chat. So I
Yeah,
will go ahead and copy this and post it there in the
Mhm.
chat
I didn't
for
even see
everybody.
the public chat.
Yeah, there's a private chat. Then you have comments beside it, and you just put it in the comments.
Yeah, and
It's
then I'll
yeah,
send you my website as well. Well,
yeah.
I'm at it.
Yeah, so Johnny posted your YouTube live stream that you do every Thursday at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, around
Usually,
there.
usually you're on for close to a couple hours. Usually,
Yeah,
right? An
around
hour and a half to
11.
two. The
I
last couple times we were chatting pretty good, and you're like, "Oh shit, man, it's past 11. I got to get to bed to go to work tomorrow."
exactly. That whole working from home has been making me go to bed later and later.
Later, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I do appreciate it. Not having to go take public transportation for 3 hours per day. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want, I feel almost bad because it's out of a bad thing that this happened, but I mean, I guess trying to see the good part. And
Well,
mhm,
for me personally, this pandemic has been nothing but brought up great things for me.
mhm.
Like,
Lucky.
yeah, I know, man. Like I hate saying it because people are like, "Oh, what a fucking people are dying, this and that." But for me personally, like, man, I've met tons of people, started doing podcasts. I got more active on social media because couldn't get out and do stuff. And man, it just, I don't know. And as I get older, I'm more of an introvert as well. I hate getting out, so I didn't need to come up with excuses not to go to parties that I was invited to anymore. You know, like,
Uh,
so I mean, and if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't even have started backing Kickstarters if it wasn't for the pandemic either. So, man, and it opened up a bunch of doors for me that I probably would have never even ventured through if it wasn't for the pandemic. So,
Mhm.
for me personally, nothing really bad happened to anyone in my family, myself, work wise. That it didn't affect me all that much. A little bit in the beginning, but I mean now everything's kind of running smoothly and back to normal more or less. So, man,
Mhm.
I don't know, but I think now the way it's looking, we're just gonna have to learn to put in ways to live with it, right? It's doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't
we're
see it. Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna have to adapt and learn to live with it. So, I
I
mean,
haven't seen any reasonable way to live with it other than what we're doing.
yeah, and now I think most jobs you can work from home anyway, and
Yeah.
companies should be happy. Now you won't have to rent huge office spaces, so that's a lot of overhead that they'll save money on,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I changed
And
job and they hired me as a remote worker from the
hey,
get go.
Joe, I think we just found out what the clips is. Manu, is the clips of COVID from we're going to be hanging out on the interface one day talking about how, hey man, like I remember art before the clips, and yeah, I'm pretty sure
I
we've
used to draw on paper with a pen. And
Yeah.
what's this? A pencil? What the fuck's a pencil? And you write on paper, just like kids now don't even understand what a phone is with a cord and shit. They're like,
oh,
"What's that? That's a phone?"
I saw a kid look at cursive writing and had no idea what it was. It was the most
What?
hilarious thing
I
ever.
forced
Yeah.
my kid to do write in cursive. I said, you have to learn it.
And write full words and not just hyphenations of words. Yeah.
Like,
Hey.
why I have to write like that? Nobody else does it. It's
Yeah.
like it's weird.
Oh, it's a dead technology. It really is, man. Like nobody's gonna remember it in 20 years, but still, yeah. I was watching these youngsters try to figure out cursive the other day, which was hilarious.
Yeah. It's part of the school, my kids' school, and the first grade. But then second grade, they say, "We do whatever you want."
Uh,
I don't know. I like writing. I like calligraphy. I like typography. So I think it's a shame if they don't learn that.
hmm.
Mm.
Well, that's the way it's going, right? With computers and everything digital now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I don't understand? Going back to shipping is how can China send like a $2 gadget for $0? You go to like AliExpress or these guys, and then you can order like a screw or whatever, and they're gonna charge you like 250, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's, but I
And
mean,
if I want to send a book, it's gonna cost me like $20.
yeah, but I mean that must be have some kind of the government must have some kind of deal with the postal service, and I mean it must have to do with trade agreements and laws, and I'm sure it has something to do with that.
Well,
It's
they're
it's
very creative with the way they think about money and the monetary system. See, it's that theirs isn't backed in reality with gold behind it like we know it. You know what I mean? They kind of just create their own value for things. So I think that that's kind of a way that they kind of operate in a way that makes us scratch our heads a little bit. But at the same time, we're going to have to catch up with them because we just keep making more and more stuff we need to pay for. And there's only just so much gold to represent so much money that is practically, used up. You know what I mean? You have to
yeah.
keep creating more at this point.
Well,
Where
they own
So,
like most of the debts, right? Around at least an American debt is owned mostly
well,
by
Johnny,
China.
you know what you just described, right?
yeah.
Cryptocurrency.
I still don't like it.
Uh,
Because gold, right? There's only so much gold, so you got to find a new system.
Well, see, the thing is with Chinese money and that their money market, it's still based in normal
Mhm.
standardized currency,
Yeah,
whereas
yeah.
crypto, depending on if you got Ethereum or Doge or baby bottle bong hit coin, or there's a billion different ones. None of them are standardized. None of them are worth the same amount. You know what I mean?
But
And
what will happen is when the government gets on board and starts paying their government employees and stuff like that through crypto, it's all going to be. I think it'll all end up being
about
like
standardized.
standardized amongst them all, and it'll be one currency once governments start to get on board with it. Then, like, because then they won't accept they'll be like, okay, stores can only accept this type of currency if you want to buy goods at a store, this and that. Then they can keep track, taxes, income tax, because they won't let, like, they want to keep track and tabs on everything. So once the government gets involved, they'll standardize a certain crypto digital currency, and that's what we'll have to go with. That's the way it'll go for sure.
Oh, yeah. You
I'm
think
sure.
it's gonna be a government like a country currency will be made in crypto? Huh? I don't
Yeah,
know.
It should all be
that
based off of time and how much time a person has, like in Manu's book. I think that way we could get held up by clowns that want to steal our time, and just make life a little more fun that way.
I think that the idea of time is a bit like me struggling with my schedule and trying to juggle like a family time and working on my personal projects, and how I found out that I was playing so many games and like video games, and how much time I was spending on that versus like producing a piece of art and seeing what is the value of the time I spent on that game versus the art that I created. And I think that's how I came up with that.
See, the one thing that worries me about the cryptocurrency, I'm going to go back to it, is
Sure.
the homeless,
Mm.
right? How are they going to get money now? Because if we don't have money anymore, they won't have any technology where they could, like, where you can just give them a dollar digitally. They won't have a phone that you can tap, or like, the homeless are going to suffer the most from this cryptocurrency.
I think
Maybe
a
it'll
lot
be
of
like
homeless.
that Justin Timberlake movie where they got the little watches on their arms where you can like give each other time.
But how are they going to get that unless the government gives it to them? But then you need an address, right? It's like if you have welfare, you need an address or something.
Well, a phone
So
you can just pay whenever you have money. You don't need an address, so you can
I
just add
suppose,
money to it. And I think a lot
but
of people are like that actually. Homeless. They do
yeah,
have a phone. They just add
yeah,
money to it. Yeah.
yeah. I suppose if they had enough money to buy a phone,
The computer of the third world is the phone. So it is becoming a standard of living, I guess, in a
mhm,
sense. And it's so cheap, it's
a
getting
plan.
cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah.
But one of the first comics I did in Odd Team, another thing I was doing on was a bit like that. Like since it was two guys walking around, and now that everything is on my card, I don't need to give money to homeless anymore. Like trying to give themselves
It's
no
true.
excuses.
Like ever since just debit cards, or that, like, less people have money or change on them to
Yeah,
give.
I hate carrying change around.
No, but that's what I mean, right? So I don't know. It's yeah. mm, I don't know. It's like even just thinking about the cold now, and I wouldn't want to be homeless, man. Tonight, -30.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah. I think
That's
they
gotta.
were talking about opening the soccer stadium or something for the homeless,
Okay.
or some arena.
Wouldn't be a bad idea, because they already found two, a man in NDG, and last night a woman. I don't remember where she was, but they froze to death. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every winter, it's like it
Yeah.
happens. Yeah,
Yeah. A
and
lot. Yeah.
they like being outside better than in shelters because of
Yeah.
the violence, the abuse. There's a lot
Yeah.
of problems inside as well.
Yeah. It's a problem that has to get resolved for sure. Especially, it's not like living in California up here. It's our
Mhm.
winters are brutal. Not a fun time to be homeless, especially the last couple days.
Mhm.
Anyway, I don't want to bring it down on the conversation, but yeah.
We made it about 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and button it up here. I want to really thank Manu for showing up and yeah, being a total blast to talk to, and talk about his book with us. It's been a pleasure. I know it's been a long time coming, and thank you for being patient with us, because I felt a little bad having to string you along, but man, all out of nowhere, me and Joey just got just overran with people wanting to be on the show. So yeah,
Oh, I
happy to finally
understand.
get you on.
I understand. I mean, guys, I do appreciate the time you gave to me on the show, and anytime you want me back, I'll be there. Don't worry about it. And
Uh,
it's been a pleasure.
would you be interested in coming back just as a panelist?
Sure,
Just talk about any subject that we come up with?
sure.
Yeah, so I'll keep you
Hell
in the
yeah.
loop then. I'll keep you in the loop when we come up with themes for the show. Anything that looks like something you'd be interested in,
Hmm.
just let us know, and man, you can come back on and hang with us and just shoot the shit about comics or whatever else we
Yeah.
crazy ideas we come up with.
But you want to go ahead and plug your social medias, like your Instagram and your Twitter, really fast for the fans?
Yeah, so you can find me on all the social medias, I think, that I know of. In corporate on Twitter, and in on Instagram, it's ink_corporate. Uh, and then you can also go to subscribe to my Facebook page, Tales from the Interface. It's pretty easy to find. But I think the easiest would probably be to go to my website, tfti.incorporate.com, because all the links are easily findable there. Or even in my YouTube channel, you can find them in the descriptions.
And your icon's usually the little creature that's on your hat, right? That's
Yeah,
your
yeah,
logo,
yeah.
a little bird. That's so
I
awesome.
post it everywhere. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people have been saying, "Oh, you should post your picture; it's more recognizable." Well, I'm not sure. I think people
Yeah,
will the little faces they get blurry.
having a little
But
brand logo, I think, is actually a better idea, to tell you the truth, but depends.
well, yours is pretty recognizable as well, Johnny. Like you can spot it in the flow of it, on the streams that in Discord. I can spot it easily.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, this was a brand new episode of Pink Buzz, where we talked Tales of the Interface with Manu. Had a total blast. We talked about several things, even though Joey wanted to get all depressing and talk about dead and homeless people. That's fine. That's a good way to end a show. But join us next week. We were going to be. Are we crossing over with House of Nerds next week, Joe? Or
No, we got Marco Rudy on.
Oh, that's right. Marco Rudy will be on to talk to us about his book. It was R&D or RD?
Um,
He is a very, very amazing fantasy creator. His book is just
thought I had it
gorgeous.
right here. Yeah.
I'm just not
Yeah.
very good with
Yeah.
annotations.
RDW.
RDW. Yeah, man. And he's actually a veteran of the comics. This is his first indie thing that he's done. He's actually more of a bigger name guy, so that should be pretty fun for us. Join us then, and yeah, until next time, take it easy, y'all.
Bye. Thanks.